Hey everyone, Brendan Snyder here. How are you? Thanks so much for joining me, and please welcome my special guest, LA Guns guitarist Tracii Guns. Thanks so much for being here, man.
Thanks for having me, Brendan. This is cool.
Absolutely, really appreciate it. Just a quick catch up for those tuning in who maybe don't know the full history of LA Guns. You formed the band back in 1983, which I
Yeah.
don't think a lot of people know go back that far.
Yeah.
Um, 85, you merge with Hollywood Rose to form Guns N' Roses. So, yes, Tracii Guns is the Guns in Guns
Yeah.
N' Roses. But you did, that was a short venture. You leave from that,
Yeah.
reform LA Guns, and in 88, you put out the mega classic debut album. And of course,
There it
essentially, the rest is history, right?
is. Yes, it is. And what a history.
That's what I was going to say. So 42 years on, since 1983, when you formed LA
Yeah.
Guns, could you have imagined that you would still be here doing this?
Yeah. I mean, because
Yeah,
there's nothing else I can do.
that's awesome.
It's like, I better still be doing this, whether people like it or not.
Oh yeah, no, well, hey, don't worry about that. Plenty of people love
Yeah.
what's going on here. I actually was counting up my collection just before starting this to see, because yeah, I was pulling out stuff. I'm going to reference things as we're doing this.
Okay.
I have 55 LA Guns and related albums, so like side projects from you and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, they got that much stuff. That's so crazy. But
It's crazy.
42 years, man, can't go wrong.
Yeah.
So we're here though to talk about this fantastic brand new album that you guys just did. It's coming out on April 4th. There you go. You got the vinyl, even better. Big. I love vinyl because of the big cover on it, the original album art size that you should have. Look at that. And I got to say, I absolutely love the album artwork on this. It
Thanks.
just screams LA Guns to me. Tattoos, beautiful woman. It just screams what I would expect. But so fantastic album. Those you guys tuning in April 4th, mark it on your calendars. So for me at least, I felt like this album was a bit more adventurous than than all your albums. And the way that I was sort of looking at it was more along the lines of like Hollywood Vampires from 91, Man in the Moon in 2001. I sort of felt that was a real kind of groove, soulful, rock oriented style album. And then Checkered Past 2021 really shocked me in a good way. It was like the two albums you did before that, Down and Dirty Sleaze Rock, exactly what we would have expected from LA Guns.
Right.
You do that, and I was just like, wow, breath of fresh air. And so
Yeah.
I'm hearing this album, and it was sort of the same thing. I was like, it sounds like LA Guns, but it doesn't sound like LA Guns. It
Right.
sounds like something new and fresh. And I guess my question really is, what were you going for? Did you have anything in mind? Did it just happen? Or was this like a conscious effort to go down that road?
Well, I have the tendency to get swamped down
Hmm.
in really heavy, moody kind of from the musical point of view. And then when I
Yeah.
write music that's really heavy and really dark, well, then the lyrics follow and the melodies follow and it gets dark, dark, dark. So every now and then we have to come up for air. You know what I mean? We have to
Right.
say, hey, we're not really that serious, guys.
Right.
You know
Right.
what I mean? But a record like this was definitely a conscious kind of, you know, I always start when I get the deadline, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you got to turn in a record by such and such date.
Right.
And depending on, you know, my emotional well-being, that kind of dictates what's going to come out. I mean, that's
Yeah.
just nature. And in this case, I was in a really good, emotional state and
Mhm.
listening to a lot of early 70s rock and roll and R&B and really cool stuff that I love. It's a little bit more up tempo and
Yeah.
with a lot more swing in it and stuff
Hmm.
like that. So I kind of immersed myself in that type of music for a couple months, just when I'm in the car,
Yeah.
when I'm watching YouTube videos, instead of going right for Eddie Van Halen, I'll go for Joe Walsh, or I'll
Oh,
go
yeah.
for Parliament, or
Hmm.
Sly and the Family Stone, the late Yardbirds with Jimmy Page, stuff like that. Stuff that's
Right.
just
Right.
very garagey. The idea was that I wasn't going to use any modern technology. I mean, I obviously you got to use Pro Tools now, but aside from that,
Yeah.
everything was my old Marshall amplifiers and Les
Mhm.
Pauls, Telecasters, things like that, to paint a picture in a way that was authentic as it could really maximize those sound, create music. And a lot that goes into that is our drummer, Adam Hamilton, our studio drummer. I
Right.
write all the music with him, the last 3, 4, 5 records at least that I've done. And we have such good communication, and we land on the same page when it comes to this relationship between guitar and drums.
Right.
So so each project, I just start sending stuff out, and he'll say, hey, this is cool,
Hmm.
what about something like this, what about something like that, and then I kind of feed off him. And sometimes he'll just send me a 4-minute drum track and say, hey, write something to this,
Right.
and I do. And but in this case, we really talked about these kind of things, even up to Van Halen. That's that song that's on the record. What's it called? Candyman. Like,
Oh.
like that started out as kind of like this weird swampy Van Halen thing.
Hmm.
We were like, whoa, where are we going to take this? Because I didn't really want to do anything high gain. It's like super shreddy guitars, because that's what I do that live all year long. So I
Right.
really wanted to be very conscious of the way the record was going to sound. And a lot of people have already said that they feel like this is the most professional sounding record that we've done since we've been back together. And that's because it's not gooped up with tons of guitars. It's just like, wow,
Yeah.
there's space and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it is conscientious, and it's time to come up for some air.
Hmm.
And I think the references you made, like Hollywood Vampires, Man on the Moon, stuff like that, I think that's accurate in relation to the past few records we've done.
Yeah. And, so some of what I have found, at least, in some of my favorite songs that you guys do that have come off of the albums are ones that are like that. The ones that I think are the breath of fresh air. It's the something a little different.
Mm-hmm.
And if we go back to like Hollywood Vampires, It's Over Now, I thought was a really
Yeah.
interesting one that you did at the time. Beautiful, from Man in the Moon. I still think it's one of your absolute best songs. Um, what is it? Let You Down, off of Checkered Past. How dark.
That's the best LA Guns song.
Isn't it? That was amazing.
Yeah.
You guys released that as a single first, right?
We put it out a year before the album came out.
Right. That's what I mean. And I was
pandemic.
so glad that you ended up putting it on the album, because I know at that time it was just a single, but I was like, what is this? This is amazing. Right.
Yeah.
But the reason I was mentioning those is that on the new album, on this one here, Hit and Run, hit me the same way, like those songs. When that came on here, I wasn't expecting it. It's become my favorite song now on the album.
Yeah, that's the band's collective favorite song on this
Is
album.
it really?
Yeah.
You got to release that one as a single.
Yeah, I think that comes out like the day of the release of the record or something.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because I had been listening to your first two tracks, Taste It and Like a Motherfucker, off of here, which guitar wise is amazing. You're just burning, you're smoking on the guitar with the riffing on those. So it's exactly what you'd expect.
Right.
From LA Guns. Got the album early. I was able to do a full review of this thing. So those of you tuning in, I have done a full review. You can check that out. But I'm listening to this, and the third song, Grinder, is awesome. But
that's my personal favorite.
Is that your personal favorite? That one is heavy and edgy, and Phil is just screaming. It's just got this visceral feel to it that's really cool.
Yeah.
And so Hit and Run at the track number 4, I thought was just perfectly placed. It creates, you get those nice peaks and valleys, that are going on in the record. But I love that sort of stuff that you guys have done, and same sort of thing, I guess, which you've kind of explained in, just prior to this, which is sometimes you have to do the alternative thing, the different thing, the breath of fresh air, to cleanse your palate, but at the same time, ours as the listener, right?
Well, we put out a lot of records, so, and relatively quickly. So it's we're always in danger of, falling in a trap of, there you go, of falling in a trap of, kind of repeating ourselves. And, that's something that Phil and I have always talked about, is not repeating ourselves, and and really trying to be creative. I mean, there's so many ways to be creative within a rock band, and as long as Phil is singing on it, it's always going to sound like LA Guns. I mean, his voice is so undeniably identifiable.
Completely.
And that's where we all get lucky. You know what I mean? It's like, Hit and Run comes on, you're like, oh, is that some weird cult song or something? And then Phil starts singing. It's like, oh, this is LA Guns.
That's right. You immediately know it's LA Guns. Yeah. Absolutely. I do love that aspect too. And you said something, and it's not a, I don't want to say it's a criticism. It was just an interesting tie-in thought I mentioned. You said not to repeat yourself, and I've had a question for ages, and I want you to answer it if there's a good way to do it. Crystallize off of Hollywood Vampires, 1991. It reappears on Vicious Circle in 1994.
Yeah.
Why was that? It wasn't re-recorded. It just you just put it on again, and I'm curious. Was that the record label? Did they make you do it?
They didn't only make us do it. They didn't tell us they were doing it.
No way. Are you kidding? It just appeared.
Yeah. Woo! That's pretty, isn't it?
That is a great one, man. Look at that.
It's the new FU tone. Woo! Thank you, buddy.
That's a beautiful. Is that one you just got?
Yeah, that's my limited edition signature model.
Oh, nice. So is it available? Is it already out for people to get?
Like 1 week it goes live on their website, and there's only 12 of them.
Oh, nice. I'll keep an eye out for that. I'll definitely talk more about it here on the channel. Take a peek on that. If you have anything else like that you want to show, feel free to pop it on.
Oh, I got so much crap. But not only did it reappear on Vicious Circle, it came up. Let's see, Ballad of Jane ended up on Hollywood Vampires.
It reappears on here. Your live EP from Japan.
Oh, there's a studio version?
There's a studio version. So you listen to that, you're expecting it to be live, and I get to the end, I'm like, why is there Crystallize on here studio?
Yeah. These are record company tricks. So we didn't go to Europe until Hollywood Vampires, and so they put Ballad of Jane on Hollywood Vampires during our European tour with Skid Row.
How weird!
Yeah, and they didn't tell us. So I was like, whoa, what's this? And Crystal Eyes was taken off.
Oh, that's even weirder. Yeah. So
weird. Yeah. Labels do it, and now those first 4 records, they can't find the masters because I'm supposed to get the masters back now.
Oh yeah, and they don't want to give them back to you.
they're just stalling and but we kind of all know that they were in one of the 2 major fires that Universal had, but they're going to have to pay us. They're going to have to do something. But I really was looking forward to remixing those and doing something cool with them.
So you re-recorded, calling it Cocked and Reloaded, but I noticed. So this is not available to stream, at least not on Apple. Is that because you don't have the masters?
It should be. Hold on, let me double check that.
Yeah, I could only find this one.
That's wild.
I mean, unless they have it under some, sometimes it's hidden under, they misrepresented. Yeah. But this one is listed as your essential listen. And I scroll through the albums, and the regular version is not there.
It's there.
Did I totally miss it?
Well, everybody's algorithm's different on these things. Wait, let's see. Singles, music videos, albums. Let's see
here. I'm doing it again through albums.
Okay, so when I look at our album list, it's not on there. Yeah. But check this out. But when you go to the top played songs, it's Cocked and Loaded.
So maybe it's miscategorized because it doesn't come up for something that I can select under the LA Guns name to listen to. I can't pick that album.
Yeah, let me see here. Oh, shut up. Let's see. Yeah, so all the songs from Cocked and Loaded show up like in a playlist.
Yeah.
But I don't see the
It,
album. And
yeah.
also it used to be like that on Apple Music with Hollywood Vampires and Vicious Circle, but they're all there now. So I don't know what the hell they do.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know
I
what
didn't know
they
if
do.
that tied into what you were saying though about the masters, because I was thinking like, wow, like that's
Oh,
my
right, right,
favorite album.
right. Yeah, no, I mean, if Polydor still had the masters, they probably wouldn't be dicking around with them anyways. They got so much stuff on their plate, and
Right.
after 30 to 35 years, you automatically get your masters back.
Right.
It's just common knowledge, and we've been trying to get them for 5 years. It's like not happening. So
Ah, that's too bad. If you do get them back, would there be any sort of I don't know, deluxe edition box set type thing with demos
sure,
or anything?
sure. I mean, I've been eager to get my hands on those tapes for 30 years,
Yeah.
because there's things about them that are really a little off-putting, you know what I mean? Just because I'm so close to it,
Right.
that there are things that I want to fix. There's that I can compile things, but you're at the mercy of this Goliath,
Hmm.
and most of the people that work at the three major labels now, they don't know anything about music. It's just it's strange, but we're okay. I mean, we keep making records, and
Yeah.
I own those,
And I gotta say, I really appreciate that in a day and age where so many artists have given up on the album format. They're not putting out new things. They say, why record? Albums don't sell. You guys are still doing it. And as a fan, as a music fan of it, I love getting new material from you guys.
well, that's the point. You're not making albums to sell them.
Hmm.
I mean, any artist that's like sitting in a studio, writing, thinking about an audience, you're cutting your own balls off. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? You're not being yourself. Um, and then it's looked at as it's the music business, but there's two things: there's the music, and then there's the music business, and I just only care about the music,
Right. The
and
art
and
of it.
and, and I take care of our business,
Yeah.
and business is good. But as far as everybody else floating around doing their thing with the business, I don't care what they do. People buy our records. You know what I mean? I,
Yeah.
I,
Right.
I have I have no control over somebody buying a record.
Right.
You can put out a masterpiece, nobody buys it. You can put out a turd, 10 people buy it. You know what I mean? Like, who knows?
Exactly.
There's no equation.
Right. So over the years, I mean, you talked about this, that you guys have recorded in a lot of different styles. When you started out in '88, it was the whole sleaze rock and glam metal sounds and stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
by Hollywood Vampires, more of a straight ahead rock approach to it. And as that's where I
Mm-hmm.
started to hear the more groove and soulful style sounds coming in.
Right.
Vicious Circle, had some real metal leaning aspects to it.
Yeah.
And then American Hardcore was what I call alternative metal, but I mean something very different
Yeah.
than that. And then Man in the
Yeah.
Moon, you come all the way back, and again with that more straight ahead rock, soulful groove sort of approach to things,
Yeah.
sort of. And again, I think you touched on this in here, but it's that all those different styles and things. Again, is that just it's based on the mood, it's based on where you're at in the moment. What I was curious about was any of that record label driven?
I
You
think
pretty much got
that,
free reign.
yeah, I mean, I have free reign no matter what anybody used to say. I mean, there was a big debate over Ballad of Jane. They wanted to put it on Cocked and Loaded, and I knew it was a great song, but I
Mhm.
didn't think it would have been so perfect on Hollywood Vampires. You know what I mean? It would have fit in so much better there. But that's trivial at this point. But yeah, when we went to do Hollywood Vampires, at first we were working with Rick Rubin, then we were working with Eddie Kramer. We
Mhm.
finally ended up doing the record with Michael James Jackson. Now these guys, they're organic, big production producers.
Mhm.
And we had already done our metal, introduction. You know what I mean? Now it was time to get down to some serious business, and kind of show our fans, the roots of the musicianship in LA
Yeah.
Guns.
Yeah. Deeper
And
rooted, you guys.
right. So when our A&R guy came down, who I love dearly to this day, his name's Bob Scoro.
Hmm.
He came in and didn't get it. You know, we during pre-production, you know, he was
Really?
listening to all the demos we were making,
Yeah.
and Alan Kovac had him removed from the label. You know, which is that's how vicious the business is. You know,
Hmm.
because Alan really believed in what we were doing, and from his point of view, like you know, it's over now and kiss my love goodbye.
Right. Some
That,
life
that
of
gave,
love.
yeah, that gave him strength at radio. That gave him strength at MTV and stuff like that. So we were definitely on the right track. And admittedly, you know, I was like, I don't care what the fans think, you know.
Mhm.
And when it came out, there wasn't a backlash, but a lot of fans were like, "Hey, you know, what's up with this?" And I'm like, well, this album, and then but we also grew a whole other part of our audience with it, you
Yeah.
know. So if you're paying attention, if you're keeping score, you know, on how many people are doing things, you know, people didn't go anywhere. It's just, you know, sometimes you put out a record and these people don't like it and these
Right.
people love it. You know? And so, you know, if we're not doing a copy of the first record or Cocked and Loaded,
Hmm.
then there's a little bit of skepticism, you know,
Yeah.
from a few people out there. But I think our fan base has been with us so long that, and why the records do sell is because they don't know what to expect.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
I don't know
They
what's
don't
coming
know.
around the corner from you guys, but it's
Yeah,
always
and that's
good
like
when it does.
I think so.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I come first, right? So
Yes, absolutely. You got to please yourself first. You know,
yeah,
this is your art. This is what you're creating, and you're going to stand. You know, you want to stand by it when it comes out. So,
yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
You know, it's back to the Ballad of Jane story. It's like it
Yeah.
wasn't the right time, but it was also the right time. You know, depending on who whose opinion you were of.
Hmm.
You know, mine it wasn't the right time.
Hmm.
Alan, it was the right time. You know, so he was right, but I was also right.
Yeah.
You know, we could have put it out at any time, and it would have had the same radio success, I guess, as they say. But you know, but when I look at my real heroes, aside from Guitar Heroes, aside from Eddie Van Halen and Randy Rhoads,
Yeah.
when I look at the Who and Zeppelin and Cream and the Beatles and the Stones, those guys never did the same thing ever. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
And people
And it's like,
accepted it.
yeah, you know. And when I was 22, a friend of mine was hanging out with Mick Jagger in Japan,
Hmm.
and she called us. She was my girlfriend's best friend at the time. She called us. She goes, I'm sitting here looking at LA Guns and Cocked and Loaded and mixed CD case. So that was just like,
No way. Yeah. How cool is that?
you know, and that was the moment, you know, that weird, you know, 11 a.m. phone call, you know, like what, you know, kind of a thing. Where I was just like, hell yeah,
Yeah.
because it's so easy as a metal band to form yourself with a particular style and sound, and this is our metal, right? And that's what I love about metal. I love the Scorpions, I love Priest, I love Maiden, I love Sabbath, I love Pantera, but they're all very specific of what they do. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's like, yeah, that's Priest, that's Accept. Um, but for me, I always wanted the whole Zeppelin Beatles thing of do each song is its own band statement. You know what I mean? It's like well, that represents the band, and that represents the band, and that represents the band. It's more fun. You know, I mean, you know, it's when we toured with ACDC, those guys didn't sound check ACDC songs. They sound checked Rolling Stone songs. You know, it's like, yeah,
Because they're having fun. That's just them jamming
that's
and
it.
enjoying themselves.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of tours, you guys are getting ready to head out with Tom Kiefer or formerly of Cinderella. So have you toured with him in the past or Cinderella in the past?
We've never toured with Cinderella, but this is our third tour with Tom Kiefer, and that starts actually the end of July, and we're going out on our own throughout April.
Cool.
And then we have a couple shows. We play 2 nights at the Whiskey in June, and then we hook up with Tom,
Hmm.
and that takes us all the way through the end of the year and into the new year. And a lot of stuff going on. A lot of cool stuff.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. And so far, I've never heard any talks of a farewell tour. So, How long do you think LA Guns is? You just gonna go until you keel over on stage?
Yeah.
I hope so.
I mean,
That's what I want to hear. Just do it.
yeah, I mean, I always just say that our farewell tour started in 1988. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like, we're still on the farewell tour.
Yeah, yeah. So start wrapping this up here because I know you've got another one to run off to, but I have some other things I wanted to touch on. In
Okay.
2006, you briefly reunited with original LA Guns vocalist Paul Black. You did some
Yeah.
shows together. Did you guys ever do any recording or try to do anything, or was it just strictly live
We did.
performances?
We tried, and it ended up the same way as it did the first time.
Yeah.
It's just, some people have their heads so far up their ass that they literally cut their nose off
Despite their face, yeah.
they just do it. And
Mhm.
you think that, given the success that LA Guns had after, the damage he did,
Mhm.
he would have learned, and that's why I wanted to do it. I'm like, hey, all right, cool, man.
Yeah.
He must have learned something. It had been 20 years or 15
Sure.
years. What a fucking trip.
Yeah, yeah.
That's all I can say. It was all about him.
Mhm.
And
Some people don't grow up.
I guess not.
Yeah.
I don't know, but yeah, I tried it. I'll always give somebody a chance.
Well, and you've done that quite a bit. You had two other singers in your version of LA Guns for a while. Marty Casey from he was on the Rockstar NXS thing, and I heard you guys recorded an album, but it didn't
We
get
did.
released.
It never got released, and it's really good. And Marty is next level, man. Like,
I loved him from the show. I loved him from his Love Hammers project.
Yeah, the Love Hammers.
Yeah. So when I heard that you had partnered up with him, I thought this is fantastic. This is who is needed at that time in your version. And so when I heard you guys had recorded an album, and I'm waiting and I'm waiting and I'm waiting, and of course nothing happens and lineup changes and so forth. But any chance that could ever see the light of day, or is it like tied up in red tape?
I don't really know what the status of it is. I mean, I think that contractually I own half the masters, and I do have the recordings.
Okay, so it's not lost. I thought maybe it was like
no, it's not lost.
Oh.
It's not lost. As a matter of fact, I re-recorded one of the songs on the first League of Gentlemen record, which is called "The Sound."
Okay.
And that was a Marty Casey, Tracii Guns song. Yeah, it's on the first.
Okay.
And no, but we did tour. We toured with Marty.
Yeah.
And what a pleasure to be around. What a great, nice guy.
He seemed that way, and I'm glad to hear that it wasn't any sort of falling around out or
no.
Anything. On the opposite side of that, you guys came on that metal show and announced Delana as a singer, which now we've seen Linkin Park bring in a female singer. We've seen Skid Row bring in a female singer, right? So like you guys were doing this back in 2011, which I didn't get to see the tour or anything. I thought would have been really interesting to have a female fronting the band. And I know that didn't all work out in the end. Was there any recording there?
There was actually. I think we released like a couple SoundCloud tunes or something. I'd have to go back and look. But
I'm gonna track that down.
But Delana was amazing, like Marty Casey, but she was Delana,
right?
And I don't know what it is about her, or the fact that it was a woman singing for a cock rock band. People weren't they weren't interested. They just weren't interested. And we'd go out and play to 50 people, and I'd be like, "What the hell?" And we go out there, and you can watch her on YouTube with me.
Right.
And she's banging. She's just
smoking.
Out of this world, amazing. And she plays guitar too, and all this stuff. But some reason people were not drawn to her, in this format. But I tried. I'll try anything if I believe in it, then I'll do it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't always work.
No, of course not. And speaking of that, different things that you've tried. So I counted up, and I could be wrong, but I believe that you've done at least 6 different other projects outside of LA Guns. So my favorite happens to be Contraband. And this album to this day smokes. I don't know what it was, but obviously the sum of the parts coming together on this really did something. And it's one of those ones that ran underground. But whenever I recommend this on my channel to people, I always pull it out as like a glam metal gem or, rarity kind
Right.
of thing.
Yeah.
And people find it and hear it, they are blown away by it.
It's
But
a really well written record, well recorded.
yeah,
Uh, all the players are great and everything sounds great. Half cover songs, half original tunes. Um, all I cared about is I was playing with Schenker.
that's what I was gonna say. So I figured that was the connection. Once you heard that, you're like, I'm in.
Yeah, I mean, our manager managed all those bands that are on that record,
Oh,
and
okay.
that
So
was the
that's
one.
how that came together. He was able to put,
Yeah,
yeah, put you guys together,
yeah, he was dangling the carrots in front of us, like
right?
we said, okay, yeah.
So you also did Brides of Destruction for a quick little period. You made a couple albums there. This was
Yeah.
your demo that you sent around to record labels.
Oh, yeah. Wow. I don't even have that.
Still has John Corabi when he was part of it playing on it. But yeah, you put out these 2 albums that were here, but you've just done a number of them. Devil City Angels with Ricky Rocket. We already mentioned your League of Gentlemen, which was fantastic. This is more of your 70s rock style stuff. You got the Michael
Yeah.
Sweet Sunbomb stuff, 2 albums out of this that are good. And one of the absolute greatest albums from last year, Russell Guns. And unfortunately,
That's great.
Jack Russell having passed away, it's sort of a bittersweet thing. But why I was bringing all this up is any plans to do more collaborative projects? Is like Frontiers Records reached out to you and asked you to do anything, or
Well, we're on Cleopatra now, so
okay,
when I left Frontiers, they only released LA Guns. I'm still under contract to do another Blackbird Angels couple records and one more Sunbomb record, but I don't think that they're going to try to fuck with that. But yeah, right now, I'm not looking to do any collaborations with anybody other than sticking to my band. And then, but if I were to do something, it would have to be something on a very kind of punky rockabilly garage band, small amp, loud noise kind of thing, because I got my band. I love my band. Yeah.
Do another solo one.
Yeah.
That was funky garage heavy.
Yeah. Nasty. I love that album. But I kind of take things as they come and make the best out of things that come along, and try to allot my time. I also have 2 children. I have a 16-year-old and a 5-year-old.
Oh,
5-year-old lives in Denmark, so the other guy lives about 30 miles from me, and so I really have to be conscious of my time and how I'm able to manage it. So far, so good. But doing more bands is always a dream. It's like always, hey, I could get with this guy and that guy, and we could do this guy. But right now, it's probably best if I just kind of push this album, go tour, play my ass off. And,
yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. And I kind of thought about that, and I'm like, LA Guns is really your baby, and essentially, not that it's a solo venture, but you get to do what you want to do. So it's not really that you have to go out and be somebody else over here or express yourself over here, because you already get to do that in LA Guns. So
that's right.
Yeah,
that's
I totally
right.
get it.
And it took 30 years to be able to do that. You know what I mean? With all the players involved and their opinions and the labels and the agents and
right
down to the fucking hairdresser and the seamstress. You guys should do this. It's like, really?
Right.
Like really? I got to listen to you too, and I was always the youngest guy, when we started, and fuck all y'all.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Let me do my shit, man.
All right, one last question. So, on that note of venturing out, trying other things, side projects, etc., you've never done an instrumental guitar album. Any
No,
desire?
no,
No.
it's because like I have some favorites that have made these kind of instrumental records,
Mhm.
and they're very good, but they're so boring to me. Even even if Randy Rhoads would have made a solo record instrumental, I think it would have been interesting,
Mhm.
and very musically involved, but without the song.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Unless he did this like this, 60 minutes of Diary of a Madman
Right,
sound,
right.
that would be amazing. But I think that guitarists are kind of taught, you know, to go bit by bit, like, not so much of the what's it called, concept record.
Yeah.
And I think, that in my case, if I were to do something like that, it would be more of a concept where there would be just really, it'd be more like a movie soundtrack where some real intense stuff and bring it way down. Because I mean, how else do you keep the interest of somebody?
Yeah, absolutely. I just,
Yeah,
yeah, you guys have got, you occasionally do an instrumental number on an LA Guns song or something. So
yeah,
I've always loved those, and even it's like, oh, I'd love you just to like compile them all up and put that out, sort of a thing. But yeah,
yeah, yeah,
just a thought and curious, uh, you know, whether or not I'm always looking for more materials. So I'm like,
yeah,
keep doing LA Guns, but do some more side projects. Put out the solo album. Bring it on, man.
yeah.
I'll take it all.
I love it.
All right. Well, on that note, I know we need to let you go, but new LA Guns, Leopard Skin out April 4th. I highly recommend it. As I said, it's a breath of fresh air, but it still sounds like LA Guns. You got Phil Lewis in there. It's undeniable, and you got some killer burning shredding guitar from Tracii on it. What more could you want? It's a fantastic album. So, Tracii, thanks so much for joining us here. I really do appreciate it. And I look forward to all that you've got coming up and down the road. I'm going to check out that guitar you just showed us as well. And if I'm lucky enough, I'll catch you on tour too.
Hell yeah, man. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, man. Take care. Have a great one.
You too. Thanks, man.
All right.